Hi everyone, welcome to our event. This event is brought to you by DataTalksClub, which is a community of people who love data. We have weekly events, and today is one of such events. And if you want to find out more about the events we have, there is a link in the description. Click on that link and you'll see all the other future events we have in our pipeline. In particular, there will be a workshop about Airflow, so check it out. And then do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This way you'll stay up to date with all the streams we have now and in the future. And finally, last but not least, join our Slack channel where you can hang out with other data enthusiasts. During today's presentation, you can ask any question you want. There is a pinned link in the live chat. Click on that link, ask your questions, and I will be covering your questions. I will be answering your questions at the end of the presentation. And so this is the usual thing I show, but now the presentation. So this presentation is something I did yesterday in person. So it was an in-person meetup here in Berlin. But I thought it would be nice to also present it here in DataTalksClub, because I think this is a cool project. Yeah, so why not present it here online too? So I thought I can invite myself to do the talk. And the talk is going to be about one of the pet projects. For now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And so I have this banana. So what I want to do is take a picture of this banana for a demo, because I want to generate a horror story about this banana. So this is what I'm going to do right now. And so it's like a live demo. I just need to find, okay, so here is I'm going to take a picture of the banana. Okay. I'm going to upload it right now. Okay. And I'm going to share my screen right now again. And right now I will go to GitHub and then trigger a GitHub action. So right now the picture is there. So we go to actions. There is this action process stories. I'm going to execute this workflow. And what should happen right now is the picture of this banana should be processed, and then we will have a horror story about that banana. Okay, so this is just to get started. So it will take some time to process the picture. So while it's happening, so yeah, I actually forgot that I wanted to say a few words about me. Hopefully, if you already know about this channel, this community, you know that I'm running this community. If you don't, then check it out, datatalks.club. This is a website where you can learn about what we do. We have free courses, we have workshops, webinars, podcasts, a community, a Slack community where you can hang out with other data enthusiasts. So this is what I'm doing right now. This is my main focus. I used to be a data scientist, and because I don't do a lot of hands-on work anymore, so most of the things I do these days is more like organizational. It's more like operational, organizing things, organizing courses, organizing events. So I do a lot less coding than before, and I want to still be able to do certain things like build things. That's why I am a big fan of pet projects, and today I'm going to talk about one of such projects. And this is the project that I want to talk about. So this is a podcast where the stories are artificially generated by AI, and these stories are created for everyday pictures like this banana that we saw. So you take a picture of something, some object, and then there is a process that generates a story, a horror story, based on that object, based on that picture. So this is the project, and I'm going to talk more about this project. But let me first make sure that I still monitor the live chat. Okay, so I have it open. So let me continue. So demo time, you already saw the demo. So it was the part of the demo where I took the picture of the banana, uploaded it to S3, and then triggered the job. So the job, maybe it actually, let me see, it must have finished. So yeah, it actually finished. It committed a bunch of files. We can go to this website. I'm going to, okay, probably it will take, oh, here it is. So I'm going to use Google Translate to translate it to English, because this is originally in Russian. And the story that was created called The Twist of Fate. So let me, oh, where's the banana? Okay, so this is the banana. I have no idea why it's called A Twist of Fate. But I can share this story now in the live chat. Yeah, here we go. Like probably. Oh, here is a banana. Okay, so there is a banana. So this worked. I was afraid that maybe it mistook the banana for something else, but yeah, there was a banana. Okay, and what happened to Alex? So he picked up the banana. Then yeah, what happened to Alex? Well, basically, yeah, I guess the banana ruined his life. So if you want to read more about, like if you want to know what happened to Alex and the banana, you can check it out. Maybe let's not do it right now, because like reading from the screen, maybe it's not fun. But that was the demo. And now I want to tell you how actually it all happened, right? So how this project came into existence. So this is me, and I have a son. So he is right now 9 years old. He was 8 when this project happened. And we were walking on the street. So we were walking, and then he asked, "Hey, Papa, can you tell me a scary story about this car?" And if you have kids, you might know that they are, yeah, they like scary stories for some reasons. It's some psychological reasons, so it helps them to, I don't actually know why, but there is this phenomenon that kids like horror stories. They like scary stories. Actually, adults too, but kids more. So then he asks, "Hey, can you tell me a scary story about this car?" And I'm like, "Okay, this is this is a haunted car that drives without a driver, and this is actually a taxi. And when somebody calls a taxi, this car might arrive, and everyone who boards this car disappears without a trace." Right? And then like the story continues. And he's like, "Oh, so cool. Can you also tell me a horror story about this bird?" And I'm like, "Okay, this bird is an evil sorcerer from the Middle Ages who was trapped in a bird's body by his rival, by his competitor." And then there is a story about like how it happened. Right? And then he's, "That's so cool. Can you also tell me a horror story about this tree?" And I'm looking at this tree and thinking, yeah, can I actually tell it? Like, by this third object, I completely ran out of imagination. So yeah, it was pretty difficult. Like I had no inspiration. And like any other data scientist, when faced with problems like that, what do we do? So we take a picture of this object and then ask ChatGPT to help. So this is exactly what I did. So I took a picture of the tree and then asked ChatGPT to tell us a scary story about the tree. And then actually the story turned out to be so amazing that we spent the entire day taking pictures of different objects. And then I would read out loud the stories that AI generated. And these stories were pretty interesting. So they reminded me of So there is this book called Horror Stories. Actually, it's not just one book, it's multiple books. If you grew up in a Russian-speaking country, maybe you know this author, Uspensky. So he used to, I don't know if he's still alive, but what he was doing is collecting different urban legends, different, I don't know, urban folklore, different scary stories into books, right? And the stories were pretty simple. The plots were pretty stupid and straightforward, but kids loved it, right? And so these stories that AI generated, that ChatGPT generated, reminded me of the stories from this book. And I thought it would be such a pity if these stories just disappear. They just, if I only keep them in the ChatGPT history, I thought it would be a nice idea to actually publish these stories on a website, right? Or somewhere on the web. So this is how this website that I showed appeared. So it's a simple GitHub Pages website with Jekyll as a static content generator. So I quickly created a few markdown files, put the stories there, copied them from ChatGPT to these markdown files, and this is how it looked like. So this is the original picture. It's just a couple of just two bottles that we took a picture of. And then this is the story that there is like an ancient cemetery. Then one evening, Alexei and Sveta. So this is a coincidence. I don't know why it chose the name Alexei. So they were returning home. They noticed these bottles. They didn't pay attention, but then some unknown force made Alexei return. So he just felt that something like this is I'm reading actually this last lines. So he simply felt that something was pulling him towards these bottles. He picked one up and peered into the dark glass, and he heard a whisper, and it seemed like there was somebody's voice. And the longer he listened, and then the story. I don't have the continuation here. Yeah, if you want to find out what happened to Alexei, you'll need to go to the website and check it. I don't think it didn't well for Alexei in this story. But yeah, so this is how it looked like. So I just put all the content to markdown files, to Jekyll, generated static pages, and then published them on GitHub Pages. So it took maybe, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. And I already have some experience with Jekyll, with GitHub Pages, because the website, the DataTalksClub website, for example, also uses GitHub Pages, and some other websites I created in the past, they use GitHub Pages. So for me, it was a pretty straightforward thing to publish that, to make this thing available on the web. But then at some point, my throat was pretty tired of reading all these stories out loud. So I thought it would be nice to actually generate, do time-to-speech, text-to-speech translation, so generate audio files. And turned out that OpenAI has a very good text-to-speech generator, even though it's for American English, and the stories are originally in Russian, so what you see on the screen is a translation. Actually, they turned out to be quite good. So sometimes, like, it speaks funny, so it's some words it pronounces. It speaks Russian with a kind of American accent. It's funny, but for my son, it didn't matter, so he really loved it. And I think there are actually 6 voices, and I asked him to pick up the one he liked most. So then we just went with that voice. And a few days later, maybe a week later, my son had a trip, so he was going away for some time, and he wanted to listen to these stories. And for him, it was not easy to use this website, so he needed to know the URL, right? He needed to go there, he needed to click, he needed to remember which stories he listened, which he did not listen, but he knew how to use Spotify. And we thought it would be cool, actually, if he could use Spotify to listen to these stories, because he already listens to other podcasts on Spotify. And we thought it would be cool for him to be able to use to listen to this podcast on Spotify too. And Spotify can remember which episodes you listen, so it has like this check mark. It remembers where you stopped, so it's very convenient. So it makes total sense to actually publish. So there are already audio files, right? So it just makes total sense to publish this as a podcast, right? And then I started figuring out how to do this, right? What we do, so at DataTalksClub, we already have a podcast, a DataTalksClub podcast. And for that, we use a service, a platform called Spotify for podcasters, but it's pretty manual. So there I need to specify the title, I need to specify to write down the description, I need to manually upload the file, which I generated from, so I speak with a guest, then there is an MP3 file, it gets edited, and then it's manually uploaded to this Spotify for podcasters. And what I wanted is something automatic. So something like we saw in the demo, where I don't need to do anything. It just automatically publishes the episode on Spotify, right? So I wanted an API, a programmatic way to upload the audio, right? And then I started looking at these podcasting platforms, and the ones that had API, they were all paid. And I was thinking like, do I really want to start paying for this pet project? Or maybe there's something else. So I was thinking what else I could do. And then I remembered a video from, I don't know, 15 years ago, or from quite some time ago. There was an interview where they talked about podcasts. And on that interview, they said that podcast is an audio content distribution technology, and the content is distributed using RSS. And I thought, okay, interesting. So what is actually RSS? So RSS is an XML file. So where you have like the channel description, so the podcast description, like the title, the I don't know, the summary. So then you make this RSS, this XML file available on the internet, which we have here. And then for each item, for each podcast episode, you have a description. So you have the title, you have the description, and then what Spotify is doing and other platforms like Apple Podcast and others, what they do is they regularly check these files for updates, and if they see an update, they pull it to Spotify, right? So this is how, if you want to make a podcast, you generate this XML file, you put the content there, and then Spotify reads from this file and adds this to Spotify itself. So this is what I did, and since it was already hosted on GitHub pages, actually creating this kind of thing, I can actually show you. It's not that it was not that difficult. So there is this podcast XML here, which is here a simple loop over all the stories, right? So it was actually quite easy to create this using Jekyll, using GitHub pages, using what we already had, the technologies we already had. Because it's a template, you can put anything you want in this template, and it would generate the content, right? So this is what we did here. Okay, and this is how it got published on Spotify. Maybe I can quickly show you this. We should see the story about the banana. Yeah, here it is. Let me translate it. Yeah, so this is the story that I just triggered, right? And then here, let me again translate it. So here we can actually, yeah, I guess Google Translate is not good when it comes to translating the Spotify website. But anyways, we will not read the story here, but we can see that this is the original picture that I took. Right, and then, yeah, you can listen to it here. I don't think you could actually hear anything. I don't think the sound transfers through Zoom. But anyways, so this is how it works, right? So we generate the XML file, Spotify picks it up and puts this on the platform. So when it comes to the technologies that I used, we used, so OpenAI is, so it started with ChatGPT. So I just experimented with ChatGPT. We took different pictures. We experimented with prompt. And then eventually what I did is just I just started using the API instead of ChatGPT. Yeah, so OpenAI is used for the actual story generation, then for text to speech, and also for generating images. Then GitHub Pages, this is where it's hosted. It's free. Okay, Jekyll, this is the template engine that creates this file, like creates the XML file, creates the HTML files. AWS S3 is where the files are stored. So this is where I uploaded. So when I took the picture of the banana, so first the image was uploaded to S3. Then also the MP3 files are stored in S3. And then finally, for uploading the image of the banana to S3, I used AWS Lambda. So with AWS Lambda, there is a simple website. I included a screenshot here. You will see it, which I use for uploading pictures. And then finally, GitHub Actions this is where I use it as an orchestrator, as some sort of cron job. So every day, I don't remember at what time, but every day it automatically executes this action. It pulls the next image from the set of images in S3. It takes the first one and processes it and publishes a new story. So when it comes to the exact flow, so this is how it looks like. So here's the picture. This is the picture of our, even though it's a tree, let's imagine it's a banana. And then through Lambda, so this is how the Lambda looks like. So I can just click choose file and select one or multiple. Actually, I can select, I don't know, 100 files and upload them all at the same time. So all these files are placed, all these images are placed in a S3 bucket. And actually see a question about this. Why do I need to upload your image to S3? Can I just not upload the image to OpenAI directly? So I don't want to. So let's say I spent the entire day taking pictures of different objects. So when my son was away, I was just going and taking pictures of like things. And then I had, I don't know, 100 pictures. Then I used this thing to upload all of them, but I didn't want to create immediately 100 stories. I wanted to pace it out. So I would put all these images, all these 100 images in the bucket. So the Lambda would put it there. And then when the job is executed, only one image is taken. So there is a folder with all the images, but we don't want to process them all. So we just take one. And then for this one image, we send it to OpenAI. So this is what GitHub Actions is doing. So GitHub Actions is taking just one image from S3, sends it to OpenAI, then gets back the story. Then it also gets back the MP3 file, the audio file. It also gets back the illustration based created on the story. And it all goes to another S3 bucket with the files, right? With the audio files. And then eventually it's published to like as an RSS, through RSS it's published to Spotify. And then there is a question from Albin. You cannot find it after searches. So originally it's in Russian. So I don't know if you speak Russian, then actually maybe what I can do is I can, wait. So what I can do is I can send it here if you speak Russian. If you don't speak, then yeah, you can at least check it. And then what I did is actually I translated it to English like that. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe the search doesn't work. Okay, so we talked about the flow. And the most interesting thing is happening here in this part where GitHub action is executed. It's actually just one script. I am going to show you the script. So this is one script. It's called process_stories.py. So all the logic, well, most of the logic is actually here with prompts. And I'm going to walk through this file. So I will not explain it line by line. I will just tell you what exactly it's doing. But then if you want to actually check the source code, maybe I will also share it here. So this is what this script is doing. So first, it takes the picture, and then it creates a story based on the picture. And the prompt is, I will not read the entire prompt, but basically it says, it specifies what kind of story it should be, what kind of things it should include and should not include. Yeah, and then the important thing is the output. So this, I want the output to be in a certain format, such that later I can parse this and extract the title. Slug is something that I can use in URL. I don't remember what slug stands for, but basically this is something that you can put in the URL. So this is banana story. So this is the slug. So ChatGPT generated this slug. Okay. So the title of the story, the slug, and the story itself, right? So then the story, once the story is there, there is another step. The other step is editing the story. Turned out when we started checking the output, that when it comes to Russian, it's sometimes it has problems with grammar. So with English, I did not notice that, but probably there is less content in Russian on the internet than in English. That's why the models are less accurate when it comes to generation of Russian texts. So that's why there was another step of actually taking the output of the first step and editing it. And the content is like, you're an experienced horror story editor fluent in Russian, correct this story. So, because sometimes I noticed that the grammar was not consistent. So for example, there was a feminine object, but it would use the masculine inclination for this object, things like that. So this step helped. I guess when we tell the AI model that you're fluent in Russian, it becomes fluent in Russian. I guess I don't know how it works, but it actually it helped, not 100%, but it made it better, right? And then once the story is there, once the story is edited, then there is another step of taking the first two paragraphs and creating a prompt from this. And the prompt includes the description of what is actually happening. So this is the prompt. It says, okay, like here's the two paragraphs. Based on these two paragraphs, create a very detailed description of one scene, of something that is happening there. Right, so something might be happening in this, and you want to have a scene from there that you want to use an illustration. And then I ask to create this description in English. So then later, I take this description of the scene and send it to DALL-E as a prompt for generating an image. Right, so once we have the prompt that was generated based on the first two paragraphs, the prompt is sent to DALL-E. DALL-E generates an image, an illustration, and then finally we do this time-to-speech thing. And so this is actually the illustration I was talking about. So if we look at the story, there are two first paragraphs. So from these two first paragraphs, we create a description of what exactly is happening in these two first paragraphs. So like, I don't know, there is somebody behind the door, and then there is a scared boy, for example. And then based on that, we send it to DALL-E, and DALL-E generates an image. Okay, and finally the text is the audio file. So the actual content. Okay, and so this is it. So this is most of the work was this Python file, and then putting this in GitHub Actions. and then creating a bunch of other things like this lambda and yeah, this RSS file, but that was pretty much it. And then the question for you, I know that there is a bit of delay between the moment I ask and you answering, but how much do you think of this code I wrote myself? So maybe what I will do is I will create a poll. I think I can do that, right? So start a poll. So first is like zero code I wrote myself, then 5%, and then, I don't know, 10%, 50%. Can I? I don't have, but yeah, well, let's have this. So how much of this code do you think I wrote myself? And we'll come back to this later, but I will just share some, yeah, so there is this important slide with the costs. So yeah, as you see, so this is the cost per generating one story. And most of the cost comes from the last two, the time to speech thing and image generation. And then actually yesterday on the meetup when I was giving this talk, somebody approached me and said, like, do you really need such a large picture for illustration? Or maybe if you just take 256 by 256, it will be sufficient. And I thought, actually, you know what, it would be sufficient to have a smaller image. And then he said that it would be way cheaper. So for me, as a way to cut costs, it's not like 10 cents, it's a lot, but like if I wanted to cut costs, then this is the first thing I could do, is just simply generate smaller images and then it would be cheaper. Right? But this is actually, like, I think it's bearable, right? It's not that much. So I use GPT-4o for generating the stories, and GPT-4o mini, I think, for the scene description. Yeah. So editing and creating the story is 4o. And then I wanted to share some observations of what I noticed when implementing this project. So it required a lot of iterations on the prompts. So the prompts I showed you are the final versions. They are by no means the best prompts that I could have written, but they are good enough. And the way we experimented was that, okay, my son does not like something. Like, for example, there are some words that get repeated. How can we exclude these words? And then, like, eventually the prompt evolved by saying what it should not do, what it should do. So it required a few iterations. Then I tried, so when GPT-4o mini just appeared, I thought, wow, like it's 20 times cheaper. How about I try using it for generating stories? So first of all, its grammar was even worse, like its Russian was even worse than 4o. But then it could not follow the plot. So, like, it had, how should I call it, like plot holes. So for example, somebody dies in the story, but then the next paragraph, this person is already alive, right? So like the story does not really work, right? So it forgets about some things in the past. So GPT-4o is better, so it can actually stick to the plot, stick to the story, and then, yeah. So in this sense, it's, I guess it has better memory. So even though it's more expensive, for creating stories is better. And I have not experimented with newer models. Probably they might be even better than 4o, but it's okay already. But then, like, also with volume, with more, like right now, there is around 1,000 stories already. I, of course, did not listen to all of them. I don't think, maybe I listened to only 10%, if not less. And they are actually rather short, like 3 minutes to 3 minutes each. So I noticed that they tend to be kind of repetitive. So for example, the story that I showed you about the banana, the one that we generated. So there was a whisper. I don't know, it was maybe coming from the banana or from somewhere else. Yeah, usually like there is somebody notices some object, and this object, I don't know, has some properties, or maybe they hear some noises, some whispers. So you can pretty much guess what would happen when you listen to enough stories, because they tend to be repetitive. So if I wanted to do like to improve on that, I would probably do more prompting or more seeding. And what I mean by seeding here is maybe I can generate, I don't know, 100 or 200 different plot templates or something that tells what should happen, right? And make sure that these templates are different. And then for each of the story, maybe we can just recycle the templates or randomly pick one of them. And then the combination of a random object plus random template would produce a story that, like on average, they will tend to be less repetitive. So let's say if we have 100 templates and there is a story that we generate every day, then it means that the template will be repeated only after 3 months, right? And which is enough to forget about this template at all. So yeah. So then this is something I mentioned. GPT's Russian is still not great. It makes grammar mistakes. So I did not test it in other languages. So when I was learning German, I used GPT actively. So it definitely knows German better than me. But also I think sometimes I noticed that it made mistakes in German. So I think when it comes to the languages, English is perfect for GPT, but other languages, especially where some explanations, even if it's high resource languages like Russian, like German, it sometimes still makes some mistakes, like grammar mistakes. For German, I don't have enough experience of using it in German, but for Russian, I certainly notice sometimes. And another funny thing is when I use it through ChatGPT interface, it's actually way better compared to using it through API. So through API, the grammar is worse than through the chat interface. I don't know, they are doing something in the chat that is not a part of the API. It at least appears. I did not test it properly to claim it with high confidence, but this is what it felt like. And then if I took a sample of 10 stories from what it generates, one story would actually be awesome, like it would be great. It would not be boring. It would be interesting. Two are not good, like they are bad. Three are good, like they are reasonably good. They are not perfect, but it's okay. Like especially for kids, yeah, it works. Then four are okay. Also, it works like for kids. For adults, it will be like maybe adults will be rolling their eyes, but like for kids, it works. Which means that, like let's say if we wanted to put in production, generate, and let's say promote it from a pet project to something more serious, then we would be interested in only 10% or maybe like 40% of the stories. So there should, ideally, if we wanted to, make it serious, there should be some sort of moderation, like maybe some person, human in the loop, who would look at the story and say, okay, like this story is bad and this is good, right? Or maybe for example, from each picture generate 3 stories, and then a person would select the best one, right? Or say, okay, all of these stories are crap. And one last thing is I noticed that I tried my best, but I could not make the illustration style consistent. So I wanted to create all these illustrations in the same style. I even prompted it that this is the style you should use for creating illustrations, but it was still somewhat different. I don't know if we can see it here. So, well, maybe it's not that bad. But sometimes, like for example, this illustration style and this illustration style, I don't know if it's visible. No, it's not. But yeah, they are different. So I wanted to make sure that the illustration. So for example, here is more like 3D. Here is more like 2D. Yeah, so it's not really consistent, and I did not manage to make it consistent. Probably I should have spent more time on prompting, but then at the end it was just okay. That project, I was okay, whatever. Okay, that's the end of the presentation. So I will put all the links in the description, like to the GitHub page, to the podcast. Yeah, you can check it out later. And what I want to say is building these pet projects is a lot of fun. So this is how I personally try to stay up to date with things that are happening. So yeah, well, they are fun. And right now I don't do a lot of coding for work. So this is how I entertain myself. Because I used to spend a lot of time doing coding, doing software engineering, and I miss that. So for me, it's also a way to, build, create, use the skill, not to get rusty. Okay, that's actually it. Right now we had the poll. I want to conclude it. So how do I finish? Yeah. So, hi, Michael. Michael is asking, so how much of the code did you write? So, like the top voted answer is 5%, which is actually correct. So, like those who think I did not write any code, oh, come on, like it doesn't work like that. Maybe actually I did not try Cursor. So this code was written, I think I used Anthropic. I think I used Claude AI for this. Right now I unsubscribed for Claude and I subscribed for Cursor because I think Cursor, it feels like, because I used Claude for programming and I thought maybe I spent the same $20 on something that is better integrated in the environment. So yeah, it was 5%, but it's still amazing how much of this I could delegate to AI, right? So let me just stop sharing. It's amazing how much of this I could delegate to AI. So I just needed to kind of drive it to, like use it as autopilot. So tell it what I want, then copy the code. And sometimes what I would do, like I copy the code, I run the code, there is an error, I just select the stack trace, send it back to the model, and then it says, oh, apologies for oversight. Here's the correct version. Then I copy the correct version. I don't know, overwrite the entire file, and then it just works at the end. So it's kind of cool. So what I wanted to actually do now is open this thing where if you have questions that I can answer them. Yeah, so question from Albin. Could you also change hyperparameters like the temperature used by the model while calling the API? Yeah, of course. So if I open this file, so let me see where I generate the story. There is a lot of boilerplate. So this create story, this is where the story is actually created. So it gets the image. And then, so this is the call to the API. And I think here, when you use this create thing, you can specify temperature and other parameters. So yeah, should be possible. I did not experiment with this because the default parameters seemed good enough. So I see also a question in live chat. Have you identified any other scenarios that would be useful for parents and children? Do you have any idea that you could give us to do our pet projects that solve real world scenarios? So for parents and children, so let me again stop sharing. So maybe it's better if I just, you see my face. So this is the question that is, let me share it again so you can actually see this. But I'll just stop sharing so then you can see my face. So other scenarios. So I use ChatGPT quite a lot. So I use it for work, like for creating content, but also like in my personal life. So for example, when my kid asks like, hey, how does GPS work? And then what I do is I ask ChatGPT, how does GPS work? Explain to me like I'm 8, and then it gives an explanation. So that's one thing. Then I don't know, like basically all the things I cannot answer, it helps me answer And so my son is into right now, he likes experimenting with different things like what happens if you take vinegar and take copper and put copper in vinegar, like what exactly will happen. So, or for example, you want to do something with, I think it's called nickel in English too. So how to make reactions with nickel. So we got some nickel and then we want to, yeah, make something. Then we just ask ChatGPT what we can do with nickel. But this is more like, it's not really a pet project. So when it comes to a pet project, I think there can be many things. Like for example, when it comes to these experiments, so could be generate an experiment. So for example, I don't know, maybe your kid is also into chemistry, or maybe your kid is into insects, or I don't know, Minecraft, God forbid. So then, yeah, what you can do is maybe generate, ask the model to generate like think about this specific topic every day, right? So for example, what you can do with everyday object. I don't know, you take a picture of banana and then the thing says what kind of experiment you can make with the banana. Because banana, uh, well, I don't know what exactly you can do with the banana. But for example, like with potato, you can make a battery out of potato. Or I don't know, with lemons, you can, I don't know, put some baking soda there, whatever, right? So could be one of the things. I'm just thinking out loud. So I imagine there are many things. Like if your kid keeps asking you about something, then I think it's a good pet project. Um, so is it okay to use ChatGPT? What kind of question is that? Sorry. Of course it's okay. Like who would tell you it's not okay to use ChatGPT? But also, like, what do you mean? Is okay? It's okay to use ChatGPT for what? Um, a comment from Albin: you can measure the conductivity as a function of water concentration in mashed bananas. Yeah, amazing, right? So, was it your suggestion, Albin, or you asked ChatGPT? Uh, yeah, and when it comes to pet projects, like okay, maybe like there are actually many things you can do. I don't know, like nothing comes to mind immediately. Maybe you can do something with Arduino too, right? But yeah, it's such a broad question. It's hard to do. But maybe you can also ask ChatGPT what kind of pet projects you can implement, and then give it some restrictions so it does not go super wild, and then it will give you like a lot of answers. What else do we have here? Do you always need to convert to base64 images in your code? Is it more efficient than sending an example, uh, for example, an array of image objects? So, can you actually do that? Because when I was doing this, when I was testing, when I think I implemented this around maybe half a year ago. So back then, if I'm not mistaken, that was the only option, but maybe I did not find the other one. But basically, for me, I just found a way to send an image. I think it was a documentation example. And then it worked, and then I just moved on. So I did not spend testing different ways of, sending images. So, comment from Michael: ask ChatGPT to give you progressively harder coding exercises each day. Amazing. Yeah. I don't know. I guess that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this webinar. So for me, it was a lot of fun actually implementing this project. And interesting thing, I did not spend actually a lot of time. So it was one evening when I put together the website. Maybe it was just um, 1 hour putting this together, like as a Jekyll website. Then a few others, a few other evenings. So I don't think I spent like more than 10 hours on this, maybe 15 tops. But yeah, it was very fun. And with ChatGPT coding or with like LLMs, coding is so much more productive. Like you could implement so many things and so quickly. And then you have an idea and you can iterate on this idea so quickly. And then you see the results. And yeah, this is amazing. Okay, that's it for today. So I'll go do something with this banana. And I wish you a great day. So thanks for joining today.